You are tuned into the newest episode of the Mike on the Mic Sports Podcast. I am Mike, and I am on the mic of the most electrifying sports podcast in the game today. That is right. I'm excited to get on here today and give you guys my tribute to Kobe Bryant, exactly 1 year from his death. It's going to be an emotional one, y'all, and I'm going to get into it right after we hit that intro.
It's Phlaymz, I went Mike on the mic. With something brand new, one time for your mind. He gave you fair warning. Now it's time to smack him in the mouth with that raw sports talk from the town. Sweet chin music to your favorite sportscaster. Mike on the mic with sports talk that matters. Reppin' for the West, see the palms in the logo. Mike on the mic, sports pod, let's go.
Kobe Bryant is my favorite athlete of all time. And Kobe Bryant has been a huge part of my life. I don't think there's been any celebrity or athlete that has been more involved or more part of my life than Kobe Bryant. Growing up in LA County, the entire city was on Kobe Bryant's back. The entire city looked up to Kobe Bryant for inspiration and for a model of success. And I remember growing up as a kid, my parents bowled in the local bowling league, and we would all be huddled around the one TV in the bar of the bowling alley, watching Kobe Bryant go to work in the NBA Finals. Just in that moment, you really look around and you see the power that this man has, drawing thousands and thousands and thousands of people to their television sets to look up to him, like I said, and to expect greatness from him as he expected of himself. Kobe Bryant never left me. From that moment on, I was obsessed with the man Kobe Bean Bryant. This carried with me the inspiration that he left for me, even until today. But a few stories, and I'll share a few stories. A lot of people don't know this about me. I actually was in the military before I actually started my sports journey, started doing the sports podcast, started doing the sports TikTok, started doing the sports everything. And in boot camp in 2016, the whole place is real strict. The whole entire, everything you see on TV about boot camp is somewhat true when it comes to how serious it is, right? So we're all sitting there, we're all quiet, no one's making a sound, and you are disconnected from the world when you're in boot camp. You don't have your phone. I don't know if they've changed the rules, but back then you did not have your phone. You did not have the internet. All you got was a few phone calls to your parents like once every 2 or 3 weeks. And that was about it for the 2 months that you were going to be in boot camp. Sometimes the RDCs would come out and tell us what's going on in the world if it was something huge, but very rarely. It happened maybe 3 or 4 times my entire time in boot camp where an RDC or a drill instructor came in and said anything about what's going on in the outside world. And one of those occasions was the entire division, 80 men, were just dead silent, shining our boots. And we used to shine our boots daily for hours at a time. The boots needed to be as extremely shiny as we possibly could get them to satisfy those who were training us. And it's more of like an attention to detail training more than anything, not really a shining your boots training. Anyways, it's dead silent because you're not allowed to talk during these moments. And the RDC just busts in the door. And everyone's looking at him to see what he's going to say. He pauses for a second. And then he said, Kobe Bryant just dropped 60 points in his final game as an NBA player. Immediately, without hesitation, chills went up my spine. Chills went all over my body. Because he did it again. He did it again. I know no one expected him to do that. And not being able to watch that really hurt in the moment when I was sitting there thinking like, damn, I just missed probably the best moment in one of my favorite athletes' careers. But chills hit my spine because he did it again. And every chance I did get to talk about it for the rest of boot camp, I talked about it. And in that moment when I was shining my boots, and in that moment of boot camp, kind of in the middle of boot camp, is the hardest time. Because you've been there for so long that that's normal life to you now, but you still have enough time left to where you don't really see the end of the tunnel yet. So to get that inspiration from Kobe Bryant, to get that motivation from Kobe Bryant, that at the end of the tunnel, it's going to be great. And that's what my first thought was Kobe Bryant's telling me again, at the end of the tunnel, it's going to be great. And that moment really pushed me to get to the end of boot camp. And of course, I was bragging to everyone. That's my guy. That's my team. That's my guy. You know what I mean? And that was Los Angeles's guy. That's what he meant to us. That's what he meant to the city of Los Angeles. He was our guy. He was what LeBron is to Cleveland. He was what MJ is to the Carolinas. That was our guy. And Kobe Bryant still to this day is our guy. And every time he did something amazing like that, we'd point and we'd say, that's our guy. Another story, another big one for me. After I got out of boot camp, I spent some time in San Diego, and then I was actually shipped overseas to Japan, where I served for 3 years overseas in 7th Fleet on board the USS McCampbell, a destroyer in the U.S. Navy. And while I was out there, I stumbled upon and got so lucky to stumble upon the Yokosuka Seahawks. The Yokosuka Seahawks are a football program out there that compete in the Japanese X League. Yes, American football is in Japan, and it's alive and well. The talent, level is a lot different than pro football here, but out there, that was it, the Japan X League. So I tried out for the team, and I got picked up by the team, and I got to play for 3 years out there. It was some of the best times of my life, and definitely the best times for me as a football player. My high school career didn't end the way I wanted it to. So to be able to go out there and really get some closure to my playing days, like people say, as people like to say, was a blessing. It was a blessing, and I got extremely lucky. But in the off seasons, or when I was on deployment, actually deployed out of Japan and traveling the world out there, I would train. I would train in the gym. I would train out on the aft missile deck, on the flight decks. I would train because I know when I come back, I have a spot on a football team, and I got to go out there and play football. And while training, it can get to be a real drag. It can get to be a real drag when you're middle of the ocean. You don't know when you're coming home. You don't know when you're going to be back. You're training for something that's invisible. You're training for something that you can't see. You're training for a day that you don't know for sure is going to come. And in those moments where it was difficult to train, in those moments where it was difficult to get in the weight room, difficult to get on the treadmill and run, this one Kobe Bryant video where Kobe Bryant is giving an inspirational speech and talking about how there are certain limits that people put on themselves. There's certain limits that you throw on yourself and you say, I can't go any further. And those limits are created by the human brain. And Kobe Bryant talks about it in the speech, and how once you've hit those limits, the ability to go past that limit of I can't do it really is going to measure how successful you're going to be at what you're trying to do, whether it be, athletic training or getting ready to play a sport, or whether it be anything to do with life. Once you're able to exceed the limit that you've set for yourself, the rest is history. Nothing's going to stop you because you already just broke the barrier that you already put yourself within. I watched it on repeat over and over and over again, and I'll link that video in the description below. Kobe Bryant was just so good at explaining exactly how he has his drive, exactly what it takes to be the best at whatever you're trying to do. It's not just basketball. He applies it to life. And those messages that he shared with the world, in my opinion, make him one of the most powerful athletes to ever exist. They make him one of the most powerful humans to ever exist, because not only was he an amazing basketball player in front of the whole world, he was able to articulate, share, and spread the knowledge of becoming the greatest basketball player in the world, or the greatest basketball player he possibly can be. And he would articulate that message in a way that made you understand exactly what you need to do to get to that level at your profession. In the military, you spend a lot of time working 24-hour shifts. You spend a lot of time, going 48, 72 hours without getting any sleep, or maybe an hour nap here, an hour nap there, sleeping next to your watch station. Some of the hardest work being done on earth right now are being done by someone on watch in the military. And people don't see it. It's invisible to them, like I said, but it's happening at this moment. There are times when you're in the military where you put yourself to that limit, where you say, this is the limit. I can't go further in this. And you're forced to go further, and you do it. And that message that Kobe Bryant spread within me helped me out a lot while I was in the military. And now that I'm out of the military, that message carries with me to this day. I mean, like I said, working, 12, 14, 16, 24, 48-hour shifts in the military. I apply that to my grind here in the sports world. And yeah, this is a hobby, but Kobe Bryant taught me that the word hobby and the label hobby, and when people say, oh, that's a cool hobby you have there, that's the barrier that people are setting for me. That's the barrier that I'm setting for myself. And I've learned from Kobe Bryant that I can break that barrier, and I could turn this into a job. I could turn this into what I do full time, and I can love my life and I can love my job. That's why I got out of the military. I got told I was crazy. I ranked up from E1 to E5 in 4 years, which, people that have been in the military know that's extremely fast to rank up. I was way ahead of schedule. I had the potential to retire at age 38, possibly, which is extremely young for those of you that know the typical retirement age in the workforce in the regular world. And I had the potential to rise up to the level of chief and the level of leadership, before the age of 30, probably before the age of 28 or 26. And I walked away from all that. I walked away from all that potential because I wasn't happy. And I had known and I had learned from Kobe being Bryant that when I get out, I'm going to do something that makes me happy. I'm going to do something that makes me feel good every day, something that I am going to put my 100% into. And just because it's labeled as a hobby, or just because people put the hobby label over my head, or maybe I put it in my own head when I describe what I do on the side with sports podcasting and the TikTok page and all that, that I can break that barrier. Kobe Bryant taught me that I can break that barrier of this just being a hobby. And I put 100% effort into this. And that's what really made me confident to get out of the military, because I know that I have that skill now, thanks to Kobe Bryant, that I will go past that limit that I set for myself to make sure that I succeed and that I'm the greatest that I can be. Kobe Bryant means so much more to me. And when he died, I actually broke down. I had one of the worst days of my life that day. And it's really crazy because I've never been affected by a celebrity's death like that. But until he was gone, I didn't realize the impact Kobe Bryant had on my life. And every day I had a thought about Kobe, or I said Kobe when I shot something in a garbage bin. You don't realize it. You don't realize it till it's too late. And I'm sure that this message that he spread to me and installed and instilled within me, he did that with thousands of people. I'm sure thousands of people received that message from Kobe Bryant's life. And thousands of people were affected in a similar manner to me, maybe more than thousands. And that's why I firmly believe that Kobe Bean Bryant is one of the greatest humans to ever walk this planet. And I hope you're resting easy up there, Kobe, Gigi, and everyone who was lost in that tragedy 1 year ago. And like you said in your final speech after your final game, Kobe, I don't know what else to say except for Mamba out.